You were here about, what, 5-6 years ago, I think.
I remember for sure, actually, because I toured there a while back. But then we came back for a holiday. We were there for 2 weeks, just toured all around the islands and brought the family, and just I wanted them to see, because when you're touring, you go to so many places, and you only ever see the venue.
Right.
And
it's kind of the same everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to do, and I love it, and I love all the traveling, but you don't really ever spend anywhere long enough to really experience it. You know, it's like having a sip of all these different things, that never really enjoying it. And I like the children to explore as much as possible as well. I think them seeing the world, different cultures within it, is a fantastic way of them becoming, not only fascinated with the world and interested in it, but tolerant of it, and accepting of all races and cultures. So I think travel is absolutely vital. If you can do it, then I think it's a vital part of a kid's upbringing. This last year has been particularly difficult because as a family, we travel constantly, either touring or if we're not touring, then we're still traveling, and we're all feeling hemmed in and restricted.
And of course, I mean, the problem with traveling is it uses up lots of fossil fuels and stuff like that. And of course, your album is all about climate change, and so people have to kind of rationalize and deal with the fact that getting on a plane isn't exactly the friendliest thing for the planet. But then again, what are you going to do?
That is the thing. It's I think there are some practicalities about the world that we live in that are just unavoidable, no matter how much we support climate change and how much we would like to see things change. If they develop an electric airplane engine, I'll be the first one on it.
Right, gotcha.
If it isn't there, what do? Do you stay at home forever? I mean, I've got an electric car, so I try to make sure I use as little fossil fuel as possible when I'm home and traveling around. Most of it sounds a bit of a terrible example, but most of our recent holidays have been on sailing boats, where you're not using engines. But I still flew there, so I understand the hypocrisy. Terrible hypocrisy. But
well, don't beat yourself up over it.
I do feel though. I do feel. I'm not going to take too much criticism for that, because I think the more that we can keep the whole conversation about climate change, very much in the forefront of what we're doing, so the more pressure there would be to develop new technologies that will allow us to travel, in a more carbon footprint friendly way. And so in a way, it's all part of driving that change.
Right. And I guess, the development of the COVID virus is a good example of that. Once everybody's focused on one thing, it gets done. But
I do think, all the time that Trump was in power, it was a fairly frightening world. I think, for many reasons, but not least of them being his attitude to climate change, which was pretty appalling. And not only did he not commit to doing anything about it, or even recognize it was a genuine problem, but he was actively undoing regulations that were in place before, to the point where he was actually trying to sue California because they wouldn't accept these new lower or worse emission standards for cars.
Right.
You struggle to understand why somebody would be willing to push through legislation that would make cars emit more rubbish.
Right.
Why would you do that?
There's one answer to that, and that's money.
Shocking. It's just shocking. I was saying to someone earlier, I for the last 4 years, I've become such a political I'm fascinated by it. I come down in the morning, I turn on the TV, and I'm just stuck there watching the latest disaster and fiasco and with Trump. And for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've not even watched it at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everyone's just gone, oh, you can take a breath. You can just back off, relax, because an actual human being is, you know, with a heart and conscience is now running things. So you know, I don't know how long that will last for. But
well, if you're missing your buzz, you can watch the impeachment trial.
Even that, I did watch a bit last night, actually, but to be fair, but even that, it just feels, you know, I'm just so sick of him.
Yeah, I think everybody is really. It's just like you've been bombarded for years.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about your album and your new single and the video and all that stuff. The album was Savage: Songs from a Broken World, and it's kind of a concept, right?
But Savage was the previous one.
Oh, sorry. Yes. That was 2017.
Yeah. But it's a similar concept, you know, or a similar sort of core to the concept. And Savage was a science fiction album based on the idea that climate change it had all gone horribly wrong. We hadn't stopped it. The planet was devastated, and now the people that are left, what would life be like for them?
Right.
How would they feel about the things they had to do just to survive? You know, in this horrifically brutal world. So that was one slant on it. Very much driven based on. I hadn't intended to write an album about climate change, or even with a climate change theme.
Right.
But as I started to write it, Trump came along and started to say his things about climate change, and it just made me angry and frightened. And so I wrote some more, and then it became an entire album. With the new one, I didn't really want to move away from that particular subject, but I wanted to try to find a new way of talking about it.
Right.
And so it was two things really. I saw something on TV quite a while ago, years ago, that stuck in my mind, and it just sort of floated the idea that viruses. This is long before COVID. It went way back. Floated the idea that viruses were perhaps the Earth's way of fighting back, or like climate. I was thought the rising temperature was the Earth's form of a fever. You know, something.
Right.
Like
Right.
They sort of they humanized the whole thing anyway. And then about 2 years ago, just as I was beginning to, you know, think about this one seriously, my youngest daughter, Echo, wrote a poem called Earth. And essentially it's the Earth talking. You know, the Earth is upset and it's hurt and it's betrayed and it doesn't know what to do, and it feels like its children have turned on it. And it's beautiful. You know, I think she's only 11. The thought that she had, it was incredible. I was absolutely amazed by what she'd done, you know. But that thought, actually, you know, that's an amazing way of thinking about it. You know, so if the Earth could speak, if it could express the feelings that it has now, what would it say? How does it feel? You know, does it feel betrayed? Is it angry? You know, does it want to fight back? You know, if it does, how far does it want to take it? You know, it's just going to be a slap on the wrist, or is it the end of us all, which it probably should be, to be fair. And so that's how it came about. And I finished all the artwork in December for it. And when you open the album, on the right hand inner side is Echo's poem. Because I thought it was such a fundamental part of how the whole idea came together, that it needs to be there. And it's, you know, it's much the same thing, but just in a child's form. Yeah. And my other two children are singing on it. And my wife did all the, you know, she sort of got all the styling together, the look of it, and so on. So it's very, very much a family affair.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting concept to take on the persona of the Earth, and I haven't heard the album yet because it's not out until like May, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I haven't had. But how when you're writing these songs, do you have to kind of be in a certain place in time in your own headspace to do that?
I used to, actually. I mean, many years ago,
right?
The horrible sort of cliche of, I need to be down to write. And it sounds childish and stupid now, but that really was the case. You know, it was either that or I just was always miserable. Probably about that. So, but it doesn't seem like that anymore. No, I don't need to sort of get myself into a zone, so to speak, to be able to write about something. whether that's because as I've got older, you sort of develop your thoughts more. You can just sort of tap into them straight away, or I don't know. I really don't know why it's changed, but it definitely has. For quite a long time now. I remember when I first moved to America, people were asking me questions about, will all your songs be sort of like sunny now and bright and happy? And, well, no, not really. But I am. I actually am. I love my life. And I am very, very happy. I'm happily married. My children are all healthy. Career's going great. I've got no worries. And yet, the things I write about tend to be far away from that. So they're certainly not a reflection of the way I feel anymore, although they were in my 20s, when I was younger. But no, not anymore.
Very good. Now, the one song that we have heard is a thing called the Intruder, I believe, which
Intruder,
you put out the video. I love the video because it looks like you're sitting on a rotating platter of some sort. And it reminded me of a long time ago, I made a TV ad for a guy who ran a record store, and he came in with a giant platform record. It looked like a record, and he was going to sit on it and rotate around, and we were going to shoot. Right. It didn't go well. He got sick.
Well, I could listen to you scream pretty music to my ears. Well, I could listen to it all day if you want me to. Well, I could talk about my world, how you brought about ruin. Well, I could talk about your greed if you want me to.
I could have told you that was going to happen. No, what we did, Chris Corner from IMX actually made the video,
right?
And I think Chris is a genius, both as a musician and as a video maker. But what he did was he had a platform made, but with a contraption underneath it where the camera spins.
Around. That's better.
And all I had to do was just be aware of where the camera was, without sort of trying to chase it, like a sad rabbit, just be aware of it. And then the way he put it together makes it look very much as if it's this whole spinning thing. I mean, it's just so cleverly done. He's got his head for that sort of thing. Visually, he's amazing.
Technology has come a long way in 40 years. That's
yes, yeah. Well, we did a thing on the last album. We did a shot when me and my daughter was in the video for My Name Is Ruin song. And we were sitting on the edge of this hut on this sort of big desert landscape. And the shot is very, very close, sort of like this. And it just pulls away and just keeps going and going and going. And eventually, with these tiny dots, you see this huge desert landscape and mountain. And it's all amazing, And you think, a few years ago, you'd have had to rented a helicopter and a crew and a Steadicam. We're talking about 20, 30 grand for one shot, so it wouldn't have happened. And now it's just my own little drone that I play with at home. It was all done on that.
It is incredible.
So technology's moved on. It's amazing.
How has technology affected your music making?
Well, I think when it comes to songwriting itself, just sitting down there at a piano writing tunes, not at all. It hasn't affected it in the slightest. I suppose in a sense, I no longer sit at a piano. I sit at a MIDI controller, USB controller keyboard, and it plays a piano sound. So that's different, I guess. But the actual mechanics of it, sitting down writing the tune, very, very much the same as it's ever been.
Yeah.
But beyond that, though, very different. I don't have any hard synthesizers anymore. Well, not that I use much. I have one or two, I suppose, that I bring in from the garage, but it's all in a computer. Yeah, everything's in a computer. I don't even have a desk anymore, like a control desk with faders. I have a giant screen, which is touch sensitive, and everything comes up on the screen, and I touch things, and stuff happens. Exactly. It's just, it is the most boring place in the world. People want to go to studios because they think they're going to be exciting, and it's really not. There's nothing in it. One
Especially
screen.
Now, you're not even playing instruments. I mean, you're just looking at screens and pushing programming stuff.
Yeah, you want a new sound, and this a new plugin comes up, and you're moving. You're actually not even moving a mouse anymore. You're doing it with your finger. Yeah, and stuff happens. And the capability of them is just phenomenal.
Now,
the
of course,
things
when
that
you
you can
started
do
out,
now.
you were using all sorts of analog synthesizers and electronica. Do you have them stashed away somewhere?
Well, I sold most of it decades ago. Yeah. I've still got a few things. I've got a mini Moog that I kept for old time's sake. Don't use it, to be honest. A few things that I've kept, but like I say, they're in the garage. But I don't even have them in studio because it just takes up space, and I don't use them really. So if there's a particular thing I'm looking for and I can't find it, I might go and bring out the garage. And so there was a few things I did on Intruder actually like that.
Right.
But you're talking 5 or 6 days perhaps in a year and a half. So it's absolutely minimal.
Because like vintage guitars are treasured by those who treasure such things. Is there a similar group of folks who think the same things about vintage synthesizers and
I'm sure there is. I'm sure. I bet there are. Well, I know there are. Some of them are my friends. Trying to say the right thing without making them look stupid. For them, but for them, it's these things are very, very important to them, and they mean the world to them. They got all sorts of memories tied up in them, and I understand that. That the only instrument that I've got any kind of emotional attachment to, and it's quite a strong one actually, is my guitar. Strangely enough, which my mum and dad bought for me when I was a young teenager.
Right.
My Gibson, and I've had it ever since. It's been on every record I've ever made, every tour I've ever done. I absolutely love it. You know what? Out of all the possessions I've owned, from houses to airplanes to cars to whatever, the only one that I could never part with is that guitar. That sums up.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of my entire life.
Right.
And the struggle and the achievements and the disappointments, everything that I've done is summed up in that one thing.
Gotcha. Now, get back to the record. My understanding is it was produced by I don't know how to pronounce his name. Fenton with you?
As in Adrian.
Adrian. Okay, gotcha. And you guys have worked together quite a bit. So I'd be interested to know how you guys, who does what, and what draws you together to work together.
Well, what he does is I write the song. I produce it up to a certain point, as complete as I can get, but only to give him an idea of what I want from it. So he'll end up with a song that has all the mood and the theme and the dynamics already in place. So he knows exactly what I'm going for with the song. And then he just makes it better. He then kind of he deconstructs it, as they say, and then rebuilds it. Quite often some of the things that I do, many of the things I do stay there.
Right.
Some of them don't. Some of them here say, no, I know what you want with that, but I've got something that would do that much better. Sometimes he'll add parts of his own, not too much of that, but some of it. And then it goes backwards and forwards, and then we argue,
Right.
I don't like what you did there. Can't have that, that's just, usually it's a very easy process. We've worked together a lot now. We know each other very well. We can be fairly blunt without it being an insult. It's a very good relationship, and that you get things done quickly because you can say what you think. You don't have to worry about upsetting people, which I'm particularly bad at, unfortunately, because I'm really blunt.
Fair enough.
So when the first album we did, that was a bit tortuous. We were getting to know each other, but it just got better and better, and now it's seamless. Cool. Every once in a while, he'll take a song in a direction that I hadn't wanted, and whereas before I'd have said, no, that's wrong.
Yeah,
I've now learned to not do that, but actually live with it for a week or so. Just don't be quick to judge this new and unusual direction. Just wait, think about it, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes actually, it isn't what I want, but sometimes it is. Sometimes you just have to think about it differently. You have this clear idea of what you want, And it isn't, you know, it doesn't come back like that. So your initial reaction is to just, oh no, you know, it's terrible. But actually, sometimes what he does is genius, I think, and he takes it in a completely different place. That's where the value of it comes in, you know, and that's where it's exciting, because you never really know exactly what you're going to end up with.
Gotcha.
So it's good fun. It's really good fun.
And I would guess, I mean, with the way technology is, as we've already discussed, it would be very easy for you just to do it all yourself, kind of go down a little rabbit hole of your own and just come out the other end without interacting with anybody. So you've chosen to do that.
Yeah, I think it's valuable. I think it's very, very valuable. You know, if I was to be left to my own devices, there is definitely a tendency to tread similar paths to what you've done before.
Right.
And you come up to a chorus that's particularly troublesome, perhaps, you know, and you have a series of sort of go-to solutions for that. Well, that's not right. You know, you need to be thinking wider than that. But you know, that's easier to say, not so easy to do. So sometimes, you know, having someone else out there, you know, that just says, well, what about this then? You know, I just bought this new synth and it does this amazing new sound in it I've not heard before, or whatever, you know, whatever. You know, yeah, no, that works actually. You know, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's great. Yep. So providing you're willing to release a little bit of the control freakiness that a lot of us have, you know, if you can just sort of like open up that barrier a little bit and allow someone else to sort of peek in slightly, then actually it's a very, very helpful thing. And I definitely believe that the albums are much better for Aid being involved. I think if I were to do them on my own, they'll be the same songs, obviously, but they are better because he adds his element to it and reshapes them.
Now our time is coming to an end, but like I said, I haven't had a chance to hear the whole album yet. Is there another song that is going to be released before the release date that you can tell me about and maybe give me a little insight on?
There's a song called Saints and Liars, which is going to be coming out in March, I believe. At the end of March, and I'm doing another video for that with Chris Corner that did the Intruder video, so I'm looking forward to that. So I've just sent it to him. He's now getting his head around ideas for that. So so it's all progressing. And then I think the album, I think you said May 21st, I think the album itself.
Yep. Well, and of course in this environment, who knows what's going to be like at May 21st, if you're going to be able to tour or move around or travel or anything.
It's horribly uncertain, you know, and it's normally now you'll be planning your tour. I mean, there is a tour. There's the tour booked for June, last date of May, actually, it starts for the UK. European festivals after that, then an American tour, North American tour. But whether any of that's going to happen,
we're open down here, by the way.
Oh, I know. There's already.
You just got to go to quarantine.
Do you know what? I've had a tour penciled for Australia and New Zealand for over a year. In fact, a year and a half. So it's there. It's all the venues are all sorted. It's just when can we go? You know? And when we can go, everybody that cancelled their tours is not going to be looking for those first few months. So it's going to be fantastic for fans. Everyone's going to be out, and a nightmare for us because we can't get in anywhere. Everywhere's booked.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing the whole record, and hopefully we'll see you again down here sometime soon.
I hope so. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.